They didn't play by the rules and still made it to the top. This is where the real stories live, raw, bold, and unapologetic. These are real women, real stories, unfiltered success. Welcome to Next to None. Welcome to Next to None. I'm so excited about this episode. We have Kathy Fenger with us today. She is the executive director of LOGOS School in St. Louis, Missouri. Kathy, thank you so much for being here today, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
It is my true pleasure, Amy. I love what you do. I love this podcast. So thank you for allowing me to be on it. I am the executive director and head of school of LOGOS. And I also, when I'm not the head of school or executive director, I am married. I have 4 grown kids and 6 grandchildren that I'm super proud of. And fall is my favorite time of year. So I'm very happy that the weather is the way the weather is this week, finally.
Yes. Can't go wrong with this weather. So tell me about your kids. Do you have boys, girls? Is mixture? What is it?
A mixture. I have 3 girls and a boy.
Okay.
And they range in age from 38 down to my youngest is 22. And then my grandkids range in age from 10 all the way down to 1.
Oh, wow. That's exciting. I
It
still have
is.
teenagers at home. I have a 17 and an 18-year-old at home. So
That's what I live with during the day. So
yes, you
it's a fun
do.
age. It's a fun
Yes,
age.
you do. It is a fun age. I have boys. So I am the only girl in my house. Our dogs are boys. Obviously, I have my husband and my 2 sons, and we have a girl cat, but she stays outside.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
By the
I
way,
love it. So
she
you're a
stays
lone wolf.
outside.
You're a lone
Yeah,
wolf.
I am totally. I want to say this. She stays outside because we live in the country, and she is a beast when it comes to getting mice. We have no issues whatsoever. She's awesome. So
And
we
does she
love
bring
her.
them to you to let you see them?
She does. I'm telling you, she has brought us bats,
Oh my
birds,
gosh.
snakes, lizards,
Wonderful.
moles. She gets everything. She's crazy. She's
That's
just crazy.
awesome.
She
That's
brings us
awesome.
grasshoppers. It's so fun.
That's
So,
great.
anyways, tell us about the school a little bit that you how long well, first of all, how long have you been there?
This is my 36th year at the school and my
Wow.
16th year as the head of school.
That's
Um,
incredible.
so it's in my heart. I love it. So a little bit about Logos. It was formed in 1970. It was in St. Louis City on Washington Avenue, about 3 blocks east of the Fox Theater.
Hmm.
And then in the early 80s, we moved to our current location in Olivet. We are a school grades 6 through 12, so middle and high school, for kids that just have not fit in the traditional schools. Our kiddos may have anxiety or depression, or we have some kids that are on the autism spectrum, neurodiverse kiddos.
Mhm.
And then we have kids that have just suffered some trauma and need just that little extra attention, extra level of understanding and compassion. And I always tell everybody my kids are my heroes. Because anytime you kind of champion over adversity, you become stronger. And
Mm,
so I tell our kids, you can do anything from what you've traveled through to where you are now. Your life can, take you anywhere you want it to go because you have the strength to overcome any challenge that comes your way.
yeah, that is so true. It's hard when you see teenagers that don't have the maturity to
Mhm.
process through all those things.
Yes.
One of our boys is ADHD, and we ended up homeschooling our kids because it was just so hard for him to sit in the classroom. And a lot of people don't totally get,
Mm-mm.
some of those pieces. And the public school system does what they can, but they have like 25, 30 students in the classroom, and it was so difficult that we just were like, you know what, we're just going to do homeschooling, and we got them connected socially, so there was a lot of connections there. But man, it was really hard, I mean, as a parent, for me, and just imagine how that student felt in that environment.
100%. And I mean, you hit it right in the head. It's not that public schools aren't, good places, but for kids who may not fit in that same, cookie cutter kind of mold of
Hmm.
kids, they just can't, and they're not equipped because of size. At Logos, our class sizes are, 6.
Yeah.
Most of them, anywhere between 4 and 8, but the average is 6. And if you came to Logos and took a tour, you'll see classrooms with 3, 4, 5 kids, which is the norm. And that's because we want the kids that struggle, whether it's in the classroom or with ADHD or whatever the issue is,
Hmm.
to have the time and space to be able to learn how to cope and do it different so that they can succeed. That's our whole mission.
Yeah, and the public school system doesn't always have teachers that totally completely understand how to deal with that. And so there's, you know, for us, one of our sons, like he just they couldn't tell us like what was causing this, like why was he doing something, like there was
Mhm.
just all of those different things. And in what happens to those kids is they end up sometimes getting in trouble because of the behaviors, but the behaviors are result of not having the proper um skill set for the staff. It just it becomes an absolute downfall for these kids, and it doesn't set them up for the future. And I'm not picking on the public school system, but they
No,
have
no.
so many students. But I love that you guys have this school that keeps kids in mind no matter what their challenges are.
Well, and I think, you brought up a couple of things. Our parents are like angels, I always, parents and staff, because you are the champions for the kids. And I think that our kids need people to believe in them, and you are 100% right on the money about behavior. I always
Hmm.
say that if kids could, they would. And
Yeah.
so they need a level of understanding, but they also need to learn coping skills in a non-threatening way, because our
Yeah.
kids here definitely had behaviors, not all of them, but most of them,
Yeah.
because they were failing or flailing, and they knew, and they were just asking for help, and they weren't able to get the help they needed in the spot that they were. And again, I don't bash public schools at all either,
Mhm.
because they do have, like you said, 20 to 30 kids in the class. um, and the teachers come in with so much on their plates, and then they're having to manage those numbers of kids, as
Right.
well as helping kids that struggle. And for us, our teachers, again, I put them in that category of angels on earth, because they really do um, come here to make connections with kids. I
Yeah.
always say, guys, this is why you're here, because you are such incredible connectors, and our kids feel valued and appreciated even on their worst days.
Hmm.
One of our taglines is every day's a new day at
Love that.
Logos. And that's because if you have one bad day, that doesn't define who you are. That's a bad day. And then you
Right.
come in the next day and you keep on keeping on. And so, that kind of describes us and our philosophy, because we want a place where not only kids, but our families will say, oh my gosh, our family life is so much better, because our
Hmm.
kids are starting to feel, or our student there is starting to feel more valued.
Yep.
They're starting to feel like they can succeed. And all of that leads to, calmer waters everywhere they go.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, because I just remember as a parent, just at times feeling so defeated. And had I known about the school, I mean, we live pretty far away, but I mean,
Right, right.
like just thinking about that, like, and it's true, like they're in an environment where everybody's valued. And when you're in a different environment, like the number of students in a classroom, some students don't understand. And so then there's this peer weirdness that,
Absolutely.
that happens. And so I love the premise of the school in general. Um, just because it allows kids a safe space to be who they are and what the challenges are that they're dealing with without the pressure of all the peer stuff as well.
Well, and some of our kids will say, one of our kids said, oh my gosh, I finally found my people. Because
Mm,
also our kids who, whatever makes them their amazing selves, can be off-putting to peers. And so they've also been ostracized or may not have a lot of friends. And they come here, and instead of being the person that struggles or had difficulties, now they're with other kids that understand and accept, and also learn together. They pump each other up and they
Yeah, I
encourage
love
each
that.
other, which is amazing. It's really
It
neat
is
to see.
amazing. If only adults could also do that.
I know. So true. You are so right on that. So very right on that.
They could
But
learn
when you
something from
mentioned that,
these kids.
right, right. Well, we do, we absolutely do. And, you said something about too bad you didn't know because you live so far away. The beauty of our region, and again, this is kind of a hats off to the special ed kind of world at public school districts, is we have kids from a 65-mile radius. So
Hmm.
if you think about that, that's a huge commitment. The districts will contract with us for kids that have IEPs that they feel like they aren't equipped or able to in that time. Um, to serve those students, and they not only will pay the fee for them to come here, but they will also pay for transportation. And so
Wow, that's
we
awesome.
have we do have kids from pretty far out, both on the Missouri side and the Illinois side. And so it's great. Hard on the kids though, because if you imagine, you ride on a mode of transportation to get to school 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes maybe. Well, now we've got kids that are on a transportation for an hour and 15 minutes, and then they do
Right.
their day and then they ride home. So it's hard. It's a lot. But our kids definitely, I think, feel like they have a place where they can fit, but they also have a place where they can mess up and learn to do it different and still be okay. And that's
Hmm.
what it's all about.
What would you say is the one thing that you absolutely love about your job?
Mm. 100% the kids. Um, I love my staff. My staff truly are angels, like I said, but the kids, I hear their stories. I hear what they've, championed over, or even see them on those bad days. And then I watch them rise above. And it's what it's all about. And you have a student walked in today to one of, to the clinical director and the associate head of school. So kind of my second in command. And he was just working and being quiet. And the kid said, Mr. Nicholas, are you okay? You look sad today. And it just made my
Aw.
day. And he wasn't sad. He just was concentrating. But the fact that this kiddo came in and was just so caring, even though I know that particular student has a whole lot on his plate. And that's the beauty. That's my
Hmm.
favorite part, is engaging with the kids and seeing the kids, and going to graduation and watching them stand up there and say, I never thought I'd be here. And here I am
Oh,
graduating. And, so it's really, really neat.
that's so awesome. I love that. I love everything about the school that you're saying, because I'm like going,
Oh,
wow,
thank you.
that like, so if you're listening and you have a student that struggles in some of the areas that she's talked about, reach out, just see what could be. Like, you just don't know until you don't. If you don't know, you don't know.
Well, one of the things, you're right. I mean, and a lot of us, as a parent, you talked about a parent and the sadness and the fear and the frustration you feel as a parent when
Hmm.
your student is unhappy, or falling apart, or whatever term you want to put on it. Nothing's worse than a parent, because we're all
Yeah.
charged to want to fix things for our kids. um and I think as women, we want our kids to be able to have what they need, but also be the best version of themselves. And so my heart goes out to parents all the time. And even to you, Amy, when you said you homeschool your kids, that's a huge sacrifice, and,
Mhm.
speaks volumes. So, I think my second favorite thing, kids are number one, is being able to work with the parents and being able to let them see that, what, even though your kid may have had some difficulties, you're doing an amazing job because you fight the fight for them every day.
Hmm.
And that's really what we do here. We help the kids. Now we have rules and structure and
Absolutely.
regulations, but we also want kids to see that you can, have a rough time, or maybe not behave in the way you should, as long as you are open to the therapy and the social skills that we're teaching you to do it different, because that's what it's all about. We
Yeah.
joked about adults. Boy, we wish some of the adults would. And, I always tell my kids, you're going to be amazing. You're going to be able to do whatever you want to do because of this experience. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and because how you've learned to navigate through maybe tough people, tough situations, whatever it
Yeah.
is. Because we all don't have that as adults, or didn't have that as adults.
No, like
Yeah.
even, you were talking about the parents. I mean, like there's times where as a parent you feel defeated, but you
Mhm.
at the same time you see this incredible potential in your child, but you just don't know what to do and how to help them. I went hard when we first found out and the struggles that were happening, like I went hard advocate, like, wait a minute,
Sure.
what's the trigger? Well, there is none. That's not true. That's not how this
Right.
works. What's the trigger?
Because
and
there's
and you
always
have
triggers.
There's always, and you have to do that. You have to advocate for your children.
And I think a lot of times when you're in that boat, I know even with my own kids, but when you're in that boat, you feel alone and you feel like sometimes you're beating your head against, a dead end road. And so
Hmm.
I like that piece of Logos too, is that, you know, you said something valuable. Give us a call. If we aren't right for you, or you live too far, or there's barriers or whatever, then we're going to help you figure out solutions too, because our whole mission is we want kids to feel that they can be wherever they need to be to get and be the best version. And so we know not everyone can come to Logos or would come to Logos, but
Yeah.
um, we just want families to be okay, kids to be healthy, and, everyone find that path to success for them in their life.
What do you feel like is some of the challenges that you've had, uh, like in internally, not with students or the parents, but just like as an organization who's serving these families and these students? Like, what has been some of the challenges that you've faced in that?
I think not uncommon, not just today in our current climate, but just throughout the history of Logos is, and a lot of nonprofits go through this, is sustainability, being able to make sure that we can raise enough funds to have funding to run the program day to day, but mostly funding so that if a family comes to us and they cannot afford, or even the lowest amount with the highest amount of
Hmm.
financial aid, that they can come here. And so we do a lot of fundraising. But we also do a lot of grant writing and things like that. And it is amazing to me, the St. Louis community, the St. Louis region, and how philanthropic corporations and people out there are,
Hmm.
particularly when you're talking about kids. I used to joke and say the people that always raise money are people that have puppies and kittens, or kids. And so it
True.
is heartwarming, but it's what I do a lot of, is to really spread our word. But we still have families, and this is heartbreaking, that can't come even if we're offering as much financial aid as possible. And that breaks your heart, because
Oh,
if a
yeah.
family comes here and they're ready to get some help, and then through all of the programming and financial aid or district or whatever it is, um, districts have funding cuts, it's all of struggle with. And so that's frustrating. Um, just day to day, year after year. It happens. We make it work. We've been around since 1970, so that's amazing.
That is
Um,
amazing.
absolutely. We just celebrated 55 years, and so I'm so grateful. But to tell you that I don't worry about long term or in the future, that wouldn't be true. I worry about that pretty frequently.
Sure. Like every nonprofit that's doing
Every
incredible work.
nonprofit, every single
Yeah.
nonprofit. Yep.
Yeah. It is challenging for nonprofits. I actually worked in nonprofits for about 23 years before I started my business, and it's a thing. Like there's just always that pressure of oh, we have to raise funds so we can do this program or, this, that, and the other. So you guys, I did see though that you guys have athletics. Did I see that
We
right?
do. We do, and that's amazing. So again, we have a couple of things that is just so fun because kids that come to us have missed out on some of what I call traditional middle or high school experiences, like
Mm-hmm.
playing on a team, or for our high school kiddos going to prom or a dance. And so with athletics, we have right now we are in basketball season, and our so we have basketball, soccer, and volleyball. Volleyball is girls. We have a girls volleyball team, and then we have a boys soccer. Although we've gotten to be co-ed because there are kiddos that want to play on all of the teams, and then we have a basketball team. We kids want football here and they want baseball, but we just don't have. We're small, and
Yeah.
so we'll have 10 to 15 kids on a team, and to rotate out for some of those other sports are hard, but our kids love it. Um, we have a coach, they call him Coach K. He's also a teacher here, and he is so motivating for the kids on our basketball team because he
Mm-hmm.
says, hey, if you're going to be on a team and you are going out and you're representing the school to play against other teams, then you have to be respectful. You have
Yeah.
to control your behavior and your anger and your frustrations. And so I always tell him, you do so much more than coaching. You actually build adults, kids that learn those skills that we need when we all have people in our lives that frustrate us or that make
Yeah.
us mad, but how you deal with it is all within your control. And so
Yeah.
it's fun to see. It's really fun to see. And we pay other private schools, but we also play some JV teams of public schools, and it's a great experience. That's probably, you asked me what's one of my favorite things, going to those games and seeing our kids be excited and have that opportunity.
Well, I'll have to connect you to the athletic director. Our boys play on a homeschool
Oh, that'd be
athletic
great.
association.
Hmm.
And
Uh-huh.
so we have development teams and then we have competitive teams. And so I'll have to get you guys connected.
That'd be awesome. That would be
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, that we would love that. We would love that.
So what's the if you had to tell everybody one thing about what you do and how impactful it is for yourself and for whatever that is, what would it be?
I think the thing that is the most powerfully impactful is being able to come in every day and watch people who have been knocked down. And it's whether you're a middle schooler, a high schooler, um, and see them learn how to dust themselves off,
Mm,
proverbial,
yeah.
and move on. And then watch. I walk through the halls. When you're in here and you're working on a grant or you're doing all the administrative stuff, I'll get up and walk down the halls and seeing kids that are happy and they're smiling and they're feeling good, or they'll come up and go, Kathy, did you see what I did in such and such? And we do a thing here at Logos. And at the end of each day, the discipline team, who's looking at the behaviors, start off the report with all of the cool things that happened with certain, like it'll say, so and so got an A on their math test, or such and such went to every class today, when
Mm-hmm.
typically they've been skipping or because they feel so, discouraged. And so
Yeah.
we do these shout outs at the end of every night. So you end every day reading these positives about kids. But that's what it is. The impact, the hardest thing that I read when I first began working at Logos, and I have a different connection to Logos that we'll talk about. But when I first started as a teacher here, I remember hearing that kids who couldn't access Logos, if there wasn't a Logos, we'd have a much higher suicide rate. Kids would either drop out, or some kids would successfully commit suicide. And nobody
Mm,
wants to think about that in our world.
right.
And it's the worst possible outcome on either side. And so the impact is powerful because I get to see, and so do my staff and parents, at graduation, many kids, Amy, will get up there and say, I never thought I'd graduate from high school. But some kids say, I didn't even think I'd be alive. And so
Oh,
it's
wow.
so powerful. Like how, when you said earlier, um, when you see kids, when they don't feel like they're valued or they're any good or they're
Hmm.
bad or whatever, that's the worst thing to feel. And so
Hmm.
to know that there's a place where we can help heal that hurt and to see kids go back out there, kind of dust it off, so to speak, and really do well, it's pretty powerful. That's what I would say is the thing for me. It's just really being grateful that there is the type of people in my staff and parents who can fight the good fight for kids and help them find a way. That's what fills me up every day.
It's also got to be very gratifying to know that you go to work every day and you make such a profound impact on other people's lives.
It's super gratifying, and it's super gratifying to watch the people that do it. Like I'm so in awe of the kids always, but the staff and the parents and what they've traveled through. That and watching my staff who could truthfully go work anywhere else.
Hmm.
But there's such a connection. And not only do the kids feel connected here, the staff, champion around those kids. And through there's that common thread that really helps them feel connected. And that's pretty awesome. So, yes, I'm very grateful. I'm also very humbled because
Yeah.
I get to do this and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. I get that. I was in ministry for 23 years,
Okay.
and it was something that was very humbling, but at the same time just felt so fulfilling,
Hmm. Hmm.
help serving other people. Um,
100%.
so I love that. You said something that you were going to say we'll share later, but I want to hear that. I want to hear
Okay,
whatever
so
that
share
was.
later. People always say, "Why are you at Logos?" Why
Mm,
why wouldn't you go be a superintendent somewhere? Why wouldn't you run another nonprofit? And Logos was my savior. I graduated from Logos as a
oh,
student, and
wow.
you just got me, Amy. So you got my heart. I was adopted by a minister and a chaplain,
Mm,
and they were, my true guiding lights, guide stars, and they found Logos for me when I was struggling. I wasn't one of those kids necessarily that was misbehaving, but I was definitely withdrawn and shut down.
sure.
Now I had my moments, I'm sure, but they found Logos for me, and the teachers that I connected with, my therapists that I connected with, they were transformative in my life, and so. Went away, graduated from Logos, went to St. Louis University to nursing school of nursing. About a year and a half in, I was like, I really don't want to do this, but really wanted to do something where I could give back. And
Yeah.
so went transferred into special education and went to work for a pretty large school district in special ed my first year. And one of my teachers actually from Logos called me and
Mm,
said, Hey, we have a teacher opening, would you want to come and teach here? And I was like, I'm not qualified to come there and teach. I mean, it was just so funny. Came and taught, and the rest is history. I, taught for 6 years, then got my master's in counseling and did admissions and counseling here, and just worked my way up administration to now I'm running the nonprofit slash school. So it's a fun story. It's a fun
I love that story. That's such a cool, I know this is going to be bad, but that's a cool marketing opportunity too. You can stand up and say, "Hey, I know this works. Look,
yeah.
it's working."
Well, and it's good for kids too, and we actually have three alumni from Logos that are working in the school now. One
That's
is
awesome.
a therapist here, one is our grant writer, and then we have someone who's on our board that is a very successful business person. And that's so good for our kids because, when they hear that, we were here and we struggled and
Mm-hmm.
and I hate using that word struggle, but because everybody has stuff,
Yeah.
but that we realize our dreams. And even though school wasn't great for us, we could, champion over whatever and go out there and do what we want to do. And that's really good for our kids.
I love that. I love that you keep saying challenges because I'm one of those people where I just really hate it when people say, "Well, you're not good at this," or
Yes.
I just
Yes.
it just bothers me. So I talk about strengths and challenges with my clients. Like I don't say, you have issues with this. I say there's some challenges there, and it's just such a better way to put it. I'm probably well, I know I'm a half glass full person.
Uh-huh.
So I always try to see the positive of things, and I love that you guys frame it that way because a lot of times it gets framed, especially for young people, like you have a problem, you have an issue. I mean, and it happens with adults too, but like with kids, if you just reframe how that is said, it
Well,
makes
and we
such a
even
huge
had to,
difference.
yeah, it's so true. And you're so, it's so valuable what you just said because our kids, all of us, but our kids come to us beaten down, whether they did it to themselves, or, interpreted it that way, or they were
Sure.
told things that happened that way. And so I used to say, everybody has struggles and even kids would bristle with that. So we talk about challenges and opportunities. Everybody in
Yep.
life, you're going to have challenges. We all do. And here's an opportunity to figure out how to have a better quality for yourself. And
Yeah.
so that's why even today I self-corrected on struggles because, but we all do. We all have things in
Yeah.
life that make it hard. And I just want our kids to be stress hardy, to be able to learn how to whatever comes your way, you have the skills. And that's part of my graduation kind of spiel every year is
Sure.
that you've already done the hard work get where you are today. And so all
Mhm.
you have to do is tap into those skills every time something comes up that's challenging. And
Yeah.
if you just do what you did to get here, you got it,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
so
I love that
that's really
because
it.
I mean, like even adults still struggle with that. I just to me it's a mindset.
It is.
There are naturally half glass empty people and there's naturally half glass full people. And I know like for me, when I'm working with a client and they say something that's super negative, and I'm like, how can we reframe that statement? Like, how can we
Perfect.
reframe
Yeah.
that? Can we reframe that? And it's not that you have this problem, you have a challenge that you can overcome. And so maybe reframe it that says, like, I'm not great at sending the emails on time, but I'm working on it, or you know what I mean? Like, just it's that thing of just like reframing how you're seeing it. Because when you only see it ever as a problem or a challenge, that's all it ever stays.
Well, yeah, it's really changing your mindset too, like you said. And you know, being able to look at our kids really never had the opportunity to look at things differently because they were
Hmm.
just trying to survive through what their
Yep.
current situation was. And so, I'm always telling them, well, let's take a look at what if, let's go down the road of what ifs.
Yeah.
And what if it didn't end this way every day? And how wouldn't that be? And start to imagine it. And I always tell the kids, begin with the end in mind. So if your goal is to, go a whole week without, having your parents mad at you, well, what would that look like? And, and
Mm.
then we go kind of backwards from there and see where it's at.
Yeah. I tell a lot of my clients, start with this three things. Start with gratitude, write three things down that you're thankful for. And then write down two things that are affirming to you as you start your day. And then
Mm,
write down the win from the day before.
that's awesome. That's really awesome.
That's just
We
how
did
you
this
start your
thing.
day.
It's really true. We did this thing with the staff because at the beginning of the year, everybody's excited and they're anxious to see the kids and happy to see the kids. And we have new kids coming in and they want to get to know them. And then about October, Some of the hard work has set in. And so
Sure.
we talked in a professional development meeting a couple of weeks ago about something that I was reading about called glimmers.
Hmm.
And glimmers is, and I happened to run across it and I'm like, what is this? Well, it's actually a mental health term, and that glimmers are the opposite of triggers. So triggers are always, what sets you off or makes you feel a certain way and has you, um, at times in high stress, you go back to what you know, and you may not respond in the way that you want to or whatever. Well, a glimmer is the opposite, where you think about, and you said it, Amy, where you think about finding those good things in your day, even if it's a minute, even if
Yeah.
it's so, not being hokey, but being very honest. A glimmer for me today is I got to meet Amy Nun, who I'm finding out really has that heart for finding the good in, or it might be that I walked down the hall and I saw a kid who has been really, really sad laugh. It's finding those little moments. So we did this campaign after I talked about it, and I said, and then I did it with my parents in a parent Zoom last week. I said, you know what? Just for tomorrow, see if you can find five glimmers,
Mm,
and just see. You might surprise yourself, even if you wake up in a bad mood or whatever.
yeah.
So a glimmer for me today was that kid coming up to Nicholas and saying, "Are you okay?" And it was so cute. I was like, wow, this is a kid that could never look outside of themselves. And now they came and checked on this staff person, just from, misreading a cue, but it didn't matter. They were just
Yeah.
compassionate. It was really neat.
Yeah. It's interesting because like uh the things that you guys work with at the school are same things that I see in adults. Like there's shame because they couldn't fit into the box that society says they have to fit into, or, all these different pieces of things. And um they're hard on themselves, or you know what I mean? All these different things. It's
Mhm.
really no different than what adults deal with.
100%. 100%. Well, I tell kids all the time, you know, being here and having kids from all over is like being in a job, because you
Mm,
don't just work with people from your neighborhood. You
yeah.
work with people from all over, different geographic locations, different socioeconomic,
Yeah.
groupings. And so it's great experience. I used to joke about Logos being a big laboratory, because you're going to learn how to get along with people from all over and from all different kinds of experiences, which is what you have to do as an adult.
Yeah.
Um, so it's kind of cool. It's kind of neat to
I
see them.
I actually have really enjoyed this conversation, and so my tagline for my podcast is real women, real stories, and unfiltered success. And I think that you fit that really well because you've been honest, like, hey, this is where I was a student here, but
Mhm.
look where you're at now. Like, and success looks so different to so many people. And, some people might say, well, why aren't you going to be a superintendent? Well, because success for you looks at you're going to be helping students just like the people that helped you when you first came there. And
100%.
I love that ties into that tagline for my for my podcast. But I just was sitting here thinking, wow, this is such a real conversation. And you really truly have achieved unfiltered success. And it may not be what everybody else thinks unfiltered success is, but it is 100% unfiltered success.
Oh, it's so wonderful. And, I'm sitting here on the other end, Amy, going, how did I not ever know about such an incredible podcast, before it got brought to me and knew, because it's so, you want to talk about glimmers, like hearing those podcasts and seeing that you're so right. My success, I was going to go be a nurse, because I
Mm-hmm.
thought that's the best way that you can help people, or, give back or whatever. And, even over the years with my husband, he's like, well, don't you want to go to? And I'm like, no, I love where I am. I love what I do.
Sure.
And to me, this is the ultimate, to be able to give back. Whether it's, I mean, I get the extra, I think the extra added, because I get to give back to a place that helped me so
Yeah.
much. But just like your work, giving back is what fills us up and makes me feel grateful because so many people gave to me and so many people helped me.
Yeah, coming out of my 23-year career, stepping into owning my own business, I just like one of my core values was servant leadership. I want to serve my clients, not just make money off of them. I want to serve them. I want everyone to leave a conversation with me feeling like there was value added to the conversation.
Amazing.
And
It's
that's
amazing.
kind of why I started my podcast. I was like, I can learn. I feel like you can learn from every conversation with any person if you're listening.
100%. Yeah. If you listen and you really hear what
Yeah.
they're saying, yeah, I agree completely. Completely.
So
What a gift.
tell the listeners how they can connect with the school. What are some ways that they can help the school? I actually feature nonprofits on my podcast like every 6 weeks, every couple months, something like
Oh,
that.
wonderful.
And so,
Wonderful. Okay.
yeah, the last one I did was my sisters and I started a nonprofit. My niece Paisley, she's got charge syndrome, which is it's an acronym. It's like cognitive heart. I don't know.
Okay. Got
There's a
it.
whole thing to
Yeah.
it. And so she's special needs, and she's got some challenges, but she's also been she's such a trooper, and I'm so incredibly thankful for just where she's at now. And she's just the sweetest kid ever. But we started a nonprofit, and I was like, I need to start putting these people on my podcast
That's
too.
right. Oh, that's so cool. Well, anyone who is listening, there's a number of different ways. We have a very, I think, hopefully informative website. So, even though I talk about it being a nonprofit, it 100% is. And we really kind of operate like a day treatment slash school because we have 13 licensed therapists on staff. But you can go to our website, which is www.logoschool.org, and it's LOGOSSCHOOL.org. So it's that two S's in the middle. A lot of times people will miss that second
Mhm.
S because it just flows, but logoschool.org. You can always call us at 314 997 7002, and you'll get thank you for calling Logo School. Admissions is 116, but also you can ask if you push 0, you'll get Miss Angela, which is one of the most wonderful people on the planet, and she'll help direct you. Or you can email. I gave you that logoschool.org with the two S's. I'm just KFENGER at logoschool.org. So Kfenger at logoschool.org. And we truly do um, love to help people find whether it's us or some resources, but also if there's any great donors out there and think, wow, it's coming up to the end of the year and I would like to look at a cause, I would be happy to talk with anyone about that. We have a lot of different opportunities for donors in the community, especially if you own a business. In Missouri, we have NAP tax credits, which gives you great tax write-offs, but also for individual donors as well. So, there's a number of different ways that we like to inspire people to give. We have a big community service push at the school because my philosophy really is the gift of giving. If you give back, it just really makes you a better person and keeps us humble
Mm,
because there are so many amazing nonprofits and deserving people out there that deserve an opportunity to be, like just our kids, be the best they can be. So
yeah.
um, we would love any and all help, but also we are happy to help in the same vein.
Do you allow businesses to come in and tour the school just to see, you know,
100%. We allow
that's awesome.
anyone to come in and tour the school. Whether we've had school districts call and say, hey, can we come and just see what's going on?
Love that.
Um, we have, absolutely people, donors or businesses who just want to check us out. What is it that you do? We're loud and proud about Logos and our kids. I always say, when you walk into Logos, we are real. So, Amy, you said you're so honest and open on this. We are honest and open in this building. So, you might hear some language. You might see some kids that are really trying to do it different. And in the moments, they are doing it not in the way you or I would want to see them do it. But then you also may walk through these halls and go, oh my gosh, this is such a quiet place. I had someone today, I was giving a tour and they said, it's so quiet. And, I wanted to raise my eyebrow, but then I'm like, because
Yeah,
it's
the
very
adults are
much
on
a
their best behavior
that's
today.
right. That's right. It's just Monday morning. They're not awake yet,
Right.
but it's a very dynamic, very really incredible place with some people that just fiercely love kids, and it's neat to see. So we're proud to show it to anyone who wants to come and hear about it. But also on our website, we have videos and we have things that as you scroll through the website and you're looking for things, you can go to our media page and you get to see some really cool things and stories of kids.
Love that. I just want to say this as a mom for people that are watching. You see a kid that's challenged and you think, well, why aren't those parents correcting that behavior? Or why aren't those parents putting that kid in line? And I will say this as a parent that understands this, and this is not a being critical towards anyone. I wrote my book, Dirty Lenses, because perception is not always what is real. And it's not always what is there. So if you see a student that seems to be having a lot of challenges, or you see a teenager in your neighborhood, or, hey, how can I help you? And I only say that because there's a lot of, as much as I hate to say this, but there's a lot of judgment on
Very much.
students that are struggling to fit into the box that society in the public school system says. And that's not, it's not a criticism towards the school system, but man, just take a step back and try to find the good in that kid and then encourage them in that good. That's
Well,
as
and
a mom that's been there.
I'm so glad you said that because I am sure in my younger years, I would be in a restaurant and I would see a kid, having a meltdown or being disrespectful or no or whatever. And it's so easy to judge without,
Mm-hmm.
I've done it. I know I have,
Sure.
to judge
So bye.
without knowing the full picture. And I've read so many things about you never know what someone else is going through. So if we all had that, to use your term, lens of understanding and kindness, what a difference that would make. But
Yeah.
I just wrote the name of your book down, Amy,
Oh,
because it's such a great name. And we did a thing years ago and it just reminded me of that, where I said, okay guys, we all need to clean our lenses, because it's easy to, and especially now, there's so much negativity in the world. And so it's very easy to have dirty lenses. And so it's just a constant reminder, hence why I brought up the glimmers, or you're writing this
yeah.
book. I'm trying to read it. So I just quickly, while I'm talking to you, wrote the title down so I can look it up. But such great things. And I think if we have more positive podcasts, or just positive moments of, I love, obviously, being a woman, the focus that you have on for this podcast, but
Yeah.
just finding things in your day to listen to that bring you that, wow,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
it's
so
really
true. I
cool.
mean, like it doesn't negate that there are hard things that happen in our lives.
Correct.
And there's some days that you wake up and you're just not in a very good mood.
Right.
But those are the moments, like for myself. I mean, I go through the same thing for myself in those moments. I just decide to be quiet if and find ways to turn that thing around. And sometimes you can't,
Right.
but in those moments, be quiet. But just really have the perspective of I'm going to look beyond what that person is showing me and I'm going to try to see what's really going on. And sometimes you
Well,
can ask questions. Sometimes you just have to give them the benefit of the doubt.
and sometimes they just need time. You're so right, because our kids, came here, some of them showing their worst part version of themselves
Yeah.
because they're hurting that bad. That was that my famous saying is the pain a child causes is never more than they feel. And so if you think about that, I say, our kids are hurting. And so
Hmm.
if we can get through what we see on the surface to get underneath to see what's going on and help
Yeah.
heal that, and that's what we do. But it's hard in the middle. I mean, we're all human. And
Sure.
so when people when our young people are angry or they want to lash out, it's hard not to take it personal, because we're all human. But the beauty of logos is you do experience that, but then you see the other side and you
Yeah.
see them and you're like, oh, this is so cool. And our staff will always tell stories. Do you remember when Kathy came and how, she would cuss us out or she would be really mean or she would, and, but look at her now. Now she is, doing A, B, and C.
Yeah.
So that's what it's all about. That's
Love
really
that.
neat.
Well,
Yeah.
Kathy, I really appreciate you being on. This was such an awesome conversation. Very different than what we normally have, but I actually really love that.
Well, I love that we had the opportunity and again, one of the things that I love and that I hope all the listeners can find is when you meet people, when you come across an Amy Nunn for me today, who I didn't know you at all, hear about your podcast, hear about this book that you wrote, and it all resonates with us. There's your glimmer for the day, and you also get to, have those great experiences. So I'm just grateful for the conversation and the
Me
opportunity.
too. Me too. Well, thank you so much again. And I'm looking forward to sharing this conversation with our viewers.
Thank you. You have a wonderful rest of your week.